Hi, good day. So, I know I've discussed this topic before, but I feel like doing another rant. Yeah. And the topic at hand is skeptics who treat everybody who believes in the alternative as shit. Now, I am not by this saying that you should believe in alternative treatments. It is completely your choice not to believe in them, and it is true. For most of them, not all, some have proof, but for most of them there are no scientific proof of their effectiveness. And it is completely valid to say, I don't want to use money, time, or anything else on something that there are no scientific evidence for. Fine, that's your choice. Now, where the problem starts is when you say that it's dangerous to allow people to practice these things because everybody has to be protected from themselves, because obviously if they believe in alternative treatments, they're stupid, they are being taken advantage of, and so on. I actually think it is even more offensive when you say that anyone who go and get an alternative treatment, whatever kind it might be, say that they are just stupid, that they can't decide for themselves if this is something they want to do, if this is something they feel helped. I think that's even more offensive than saying that we who practice these things are all charlatans and liars and terrible people. Because it's sort of downgrading the intelligence of the entire human race, because it's saying, if you don't believe as I do, then you're stupid. And I don't know if you can get more arrogant than that. Now, is there charlatans within the alternative community? Of course there are. Just as there are charlatans within the medical community, within people that build houses, there are crooks in every field. But that doesn't mean that the entire field is just filled up with crooks. For example, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, a few years ago I was losing some weight, and I went to a doctor for a checkup, which is a good idea to do when you're losing quite a bit of weight. And she decided to try to push her weight loss program on me, which of course I would have to pay for. And she was so insistent, and she made me feel so bad about myself that I just dropped whatever I had been doing with that diet, because I thought, oh, but it's not gonna help, it's not gonna be, because she's a doctor, she says so, and I couldn't afford to use her treatment. Now, was what she did okay because she is a medical professional? I've heard quite a few people who have paid money to people that's gonna build houses or um, do some work on their house, and they just take their money and leave or do shitty work. Is that okay because they're doing that? No, it's not okay. Yes, it is not okay if somebody who practices something alternative willingly misleads people. However, generally, now I've grown up with a mother who is an alternative practitioner. She practices Reiki, acupuncture, aromatherapy, reflexolo- I can't speak today, reflexology, and a few other such things. So I've grown up with it, so I know quite a few people within that community. And 99% of everybody I have met are decent, kind people who only wants to help others. Now, what's dishonest is saying, take this magic pill, it'll solve all your problems and it is scientifically proven. Take it, take it, take it, take it, and pay me money. That's dishonest. But when, for example, you offer, let's say, aromatherapy, and you let it be known that yes, it isn't scientifically proven, This is yes, it has a history. There's a lot of people who think this works, but it isn't actually scientifically proven. You are not misleading anyone. People are then making the choice themselves, whether or not they want to believe in this. So what about having some fucking faith that others are able to make decisions for their lives, even if you don't agree with those decisions? Please forgive me for swearing. It's just that this sort of arrogance just it really irritates me. So yeah, and then it is, but it doesn't work clearly, and then they sort of have to downgrade anyone who says it works. Now, if you look at people who say that they have been helped by some alternative treatment or another, it a number in the millions. So to just dismiss that, it isn't important, it can't be put on a slab in a lab, therefore it doesn't exist. Now, to me, that is a pretty narrow-minded opinion. Of course, if that is your opinion and that is what you feel comfortable with, that is completely your choice. But let others make their choice as well. Alternative medicine and alternative movement in general are not dangerous. It's offering an alternative. Now, of course, you can begin to discuss what is it that makes these things work? Why have so many people said that this works and then it fails in laboratory tests? And that's a very interesting question. Now, one thing that very often come up is it has to be a placebo. Now, that might be it. It might be a placebo. I don't really care. If I go to have an illness treated and I get well, I don't really care if it is the stones, if it's God himself, or if it is my own mind that causes me to be well. I focus on the effect. I get well. Uh, but if it's only placebo, how come then it works on animals and small children who are generally not able to have that faith in the one that is treating them? I've been working on animals quite often with very good results, and I doubt that an animal is able to hold a placebo. Of course, some then start to row with their imaginary little robot to find some way to explain this. But it's that the animal can sense that the owner believes it, so they produce the placebo. Yeah, that's probably it. Now, I'm not against the idea that animals have psychic powers, but I thought you were the skeptics here. Now, another explanation that many use is that an alternative practitioner usually have the time to sit and talk with the patient, and many of the treatments are very relaxing, and it involves positive physical contact, which has been proven to be beneficial for your health. And I am absolutely open to that being part of it. When you go to a doctor, you get rushed in, rushed out, and there's very little human contact. Like when I go to the doctor and half the time the doctor sits and he's testing, he's pressing keys on his computer and say, okay, and what seems to be your problem? And I tell him what his problem is. Test. Yeah, here's some drugs you can take. And often those drugs fixes the problem, it's not that, but sometimes you need that physical contact. That actually is very beneficial. But if so, if The reason why when my mother treats someone with aromatherapy, the whole reason why they get better is that physical contact. How is she then a charlatan? What she does helps. What she does cures. It's just that it might not be for the reasons she believes it cures. It's like saying that if I believe toasters make toast because there's fairies in there barbecuing the bread, or fairies with flamethrowers inside the toasters working on the bread, and then calling me a charlatan because I sell toasters, because I well, they do toast bread. My claim that this device, if you plug it in the wall and you put slices of bread in there, they'll come out toasted. That's true then. Even if my belief that it's the fairies that does it might not be. So I'm completely open to the idea of discussing, is there anything other than the often spiritual ideas behind some alternative treatments that causes people to get better? Definitely. But just dismissing it out of hand that, oh no, it doesn't fit with my current paradigm, so definitely anyone who says they have become better, they are either lying or they're stupid or they're duped. That doesn't really work. I also heard that, oh, but it's the same that people say, well, I can treat I can treat a cold in 7 days. No, people aren't that stupid. I know that most colds are done are over in 7 days. It's then we are back to downgrading people's intelligence. Now, my mother has been an alternative practitioner for quite a few years, and she has a pretty good success rate. Does it mean that she always completely cures the illness? No, but most of her patients come when the treatment is done is better. They feel better and they are better than when they started. I would say perhaps 90% of them. You can't help everyone. Now, another common claim is, oh, it's just coincidence. So if I go to a healer with um broken bone, and that bone heals a lot faster than it should be, perhaps so let's say a third of the time that it would normally take. I say, oh, but it's just coincidence. If I go and have a nasty cough and the next day that cough is gone, oh, it's just coincidence. Yeah, except that's kind. A lot of good practitioners have 18, 19, 95% success rates. And that's like saying that, okay, if you say you have a spell that you can cast on a coin, and every time you toss that coin over your shoulder and out the window, it hits a cat. And they say, and you toss it out the window and it hits a cat. You toss it out the window and it hits a cat, and say, oh, it's just coincidence. Yeah, but if that coincidence happens 90% of the time, it might be a wise idea to consider if it might be some other reason for it. Now, as for proof, it is true, most alternative treatments have not fared well in laboratory tests. But sometimes it might be wise to have a look at if something works perfectly outside of environment A. It might be perhaps wise to consider, is there something within environment A that causes these things not to work? For example, take homeopathy. There was a test there done a while ago where it proved that in blind tests, that means that the practitioner knows who is getting what, but but the test subject doesn't know if they're getting a placebo or not. Then it showed that those that got actual homeopathical products improved a lot faster and had a real effect, much more than the placebo group. But when they did a double blind, it was indistinguishable from placebo, and therefore declared, oh, it has no effect. What? First of all, homeopathy does not work that way. It's like saying, okay, hair dryers doesn't work because when we don't plug them into the wall socket, they don't blow out air. Basically, the way homeopathy works is that you can't just give a random tincture to a random patient, because even if it is for a distinct problem, let's say a headache, then your personality type, your energy, all of this play into account for what remedy will work for you. So the practitioner sort of have to know a bit about you to find the correct remedy. Also, a lot of these things have a spiritual component. Now, I get that if you're a skeptic or an atheist, that is very difficult to wrap your head around. But if you're going to test something, you sort of have to test it on their own ground. And a part of spiritual practice is intent. And if you don't know if something is going to placebo or going to if you don't know if this will actually be used on a real patient, then you can't imbue it with that intent, and it will not work well. So there's a lot of these scientific tests that sort of set everything in the alternative up to fail, because it's like using a screwdriver to cut your fingernails. It isn't using the right tools to test these things. Now, the second point is, okay, so a lot of these things have not been proven in a laboratory environment or in scientific testing. But how do you then explain all the people who are helped by it? If you had a trial and you had 1,000,000 people saying, yeah, I saw Mr. Henderson shoot Mrs. Wilson, then chances are the jury wouldn't just dismiss that, even if there were no technical evidence. So, yeah. Now, the third point is that some of these treatments do have scientific proof. For example, acupuncture. Now, in scientific testing, it has been shown that exactly where you place the needles are not as important as most acupuncture professionals believe it is. That basically patients improve by being poked by tiny needles. But it has shown to have an effect. That's why acupuncture is being used in more and more hospitals. And you have herbalism as a part of alternative treatments, and that you can prove scientifically. There's a lot of these things that you can prove. Alternative treatment is not just healing and the like. So, yeah. And there is so much testimony that says that these things work. And I can say that I've had it work on me so many times, and I've seen it work on others. So, and often in ways that you can't have a placebo. I seen my mother heal my pet rodent that was on the brink of death, and who then lived another year. And on a less dramatic scale, I've used stone healing to work on my hobbies, nightmares, with great success. I've done healing that has sped up recovery. It is no doubt in my mind that these things work. Now again, if you don't believe it, that is completely fine, it's your choice. But don't treat those who do like idiots. It's a difference of opinion. And people have to be allowed to have different opinions. Nobody is forcing you to spend money on alternative treatments. So, yeah. And this sort of frustrates me. First of all, nobody likes to be called a charlatan, be called a liar, and be told that you are a horrible, immoral person because you believe and or practice these things. But like I said, that takes second rate to treating everybody, all the millions of people who have gotten these treatments, as idiots because they believe in it. Try to perhaps have some faith in other human beings, and perhaps treating others with just a smidgen of respect. Might that be a good idea, skeptics? And of course, now I'm not talking about all skeptics, I'm talking about those that go completely ballistic on anything alternative. So yeah, and of course, they always bring up uh, the extreme examples, like one said, oh, clearly alternative treatment is horrible because he had heard about someone who arranged bus rides where blind people were taking to some country where they believed that being stung by a bee would bring their vision back. Well, okay, that sounds very strange. And of course, there are people that will believe anything. Just see, there are people that will buy into Nigeria scams, but that doesn't mean you should downgrade everyone and consider everybody idiots, because some people will fall for anything. Where most alternative treatments are not about being stung by bees to cure blindness. And of course, there are some idiots that won't go to a doctor and will try to treat extremely serious illnesses with only alternative treatments, and they, of course, are idiots. Like that couple where the baby were malnourished and had pneumonia, and so they wrapped her in cabbage for some reason. Of course, the baby died. And skeptics are, oh, look, that's what you get with alternative treatments. No, that's what you get when you're an idiot. Any serious practitioner of any alternative field say, you see a doctor first. If you suspect anything seriously is wrong with you, see a doctor. Alternative treatments are meant to be supplementary. You don't go to a healer if you believe you have pneumonia. You go to the doctor, you get treatment, and then you might go to a healer and get a treatment as well, because it is supplementive. You can't just drag up the worst of the worst in a field and say, ah, see, that field is terrible. That's just stupid. It's like if I were to drag up some of the horror stories I've heard about about people getting the wrong treatment and dying in the average medical community, and say, look, see there, medical community, they're shit. It doesn't work like that. Or having heard horror stories of people who have been sad, who were supposed to build somebody's house or repair it and just run off with their money. Look, anyone who is a carpenter are crooks. Doesn't work like that. Of course there are crooks. Of course they're idiots. There are idiots in any field. It doesn't mean you should treat everybody who believes in a certain thing as idiots. So yeah. I think I will end this rant now because it's gone on for quite some time. So yeah. I guess the moral of this video is try to respect one another. Even when somebody does something that you think doesn't have an effect. Even when somebody has a radically different opinion than you, they generally have that opinion because they have considered it carefully, come to their own conclusions, and made a decision themselves for their lives. It might be different from yours. You might think they are completely and utterly wrong, but that doesn't mean that they are duped, stupid, immoral, or in other ways inferior to you for not sharing your opinions. Imagine how boring this world would be if we all thought the same. So yeah, have a great day and blessed be.